quick closer glimpse at the cover crops here post rain. Really greened things up and brought up our trigger pressure. Those plants are parking up and sitting up nice despite all the grazing. So September 5th, 2025, planting winter rye, broadcasting into existing daikon radish and buckwheat cover crop, mixed with some potato crop. We may harvest some of the potato crop if anything is harvestable or worth harvesting. Certainly not going to be production scale. It would just probably have some to eat. That'd be kind of nice, but whatever. Point of this is I paced off our width here because I did calculations at home in Google Earth and checked them on CAD, and it's always good to verify in the field. So I paced off. We're about 60 foot wide by pacing, and I know we're about 400 foot long in this block. So that makes this block about 24,000 square feet, or just about 0.55 acres. 24,000 over 43,560 square feet in an acre. So that yields us about 66 pounds at the 120 pounds per acre rate, which is what's recommended by Fieldlark AI, given what we're broadcasting into dense cover crop and that we can't cultivate, cultipack, or roller press to make better seed to soil contact. We're going to try to take advantage of the moisture in the soil that we have right now. Overnight tonight, we should have a pretty heavy dew. We have rain in the forecast for tomorrow afternoon and into Sunday a little bit. So hopefully we'll get another inch of rain or so. That'd be phenomenal. That would help drive our seed soil contact in better and give us adequate moisture for germination and help us get our next cover crop established in our existing cover crop. So I'm going to blast this block first. I'd love to use my seeder, but there is no way that I can get down these rows with a seeder and not just get hung up or have stuff wrap around the seeder. And I don't have a machine that'll get in here and break this up. And I have not built a seeder that I can run on the Ford up above the canopy yet. And I don't have time to do that. So it's going to be by hand. Kind of a pain in the butt, but it'll set us up for a much better season next year, even than we did this year for soil building, and it'll give us good weed suppression in the spring and so on. So I got the first 4 rows from left to right seeded down. Well, that is seeded extremely heavy with rye. I calculated 66 pounds just for this block. I put down more like 85 or 90 in here, and then over on the strip here that runs all the way up, I put the rest of a total of 124 pounds. So we're loaded heavy, and given the recent lesson about over cover cropping, I just should mention that the only reason I'm not afraid to seed extra heavy on this because it's a winter cover crop and there's no cash crop to compete with. So worst case scenario, we'll have a nice thick canopy in the spring. Not too concerned about that. Chances are the deer will graze it back over the winter. There won't be as much here as you might hope for without such grazing pressures. But we'll see how it all plays. We'll see if we get the rain tomorrow, and we'll see how our germination is and go from there. Okay, so I thought I would follow up on the Fieldlark AI guiding our work here. So I said, I measured the area where the potato blocks were. I said, that's 21,000 square feet. How much rye should I broadcast? And they break it down, and they talk about the seed to soil contact, timing with moisture, light disturbance, like with a cultipacker or a harrow, daikon radish residue, competition from existing cover crops, etc., etc., etc. But basically what they say is about 80 pounds per acre to 120 pounds per acre, considering the conditions we were working with. which equates to 38.6 pounds to 57.8 pounds for 21,000 square feet. So, and I didn't get it down that night, but I was kind of like pre-gaming for what I wanted to do. And I said, we got about an inch of rain last night. That was Thursday. With another inch of rain forecasted for tomorrow, which is Saturday. If I broadcast tonight, how much does this affect seeding rate? Should I adjust? Said that's fantastic news. They're basically still saying target the higher end. So I targeted the higher end and overshot a bit. I also seeded a little bit bigger area. Ended up being about 33,000 square feet. And so going down to implications of high seeding rate, because that's really what I wanted to touch on for this video out of this. Exceptional weed suppression. The dense winter rye will be incredibly effective at outcompeting weeds, providing a clean slate for your next cash crop. This is a huge win for dynamic equilibrium and reducing future limiting factors. Maximum biomass production, or increasing biomass production to its maximum capacity on that block, basically. Superior organic matter accumulation. Extensive root systems, with winter rye is renowned for its fibrous deep root system. This high density will create an unparalleled network of root channels, further improving soil structure, aeration, and water infiltration, thereby enhancing water management. Enhanced carbon sequestration, because we're building biomass, because we're photosynthesizing through the winter. Intensified nutrient cycling, because we're scavenging more nutrients and building more biomass, and consequently we're going to have more nutrient cycling going on because of that. Robust microbial feeding, both through the root exudates, and then of course if we incorporate the crop when it breaks down again, that'll feed microbes again. And sticking with the anti-fragile design, we're making our cropland more resilient and more capable of stretching a wider range of difficult conditions. With spring management potential considerations, with such a high biomass, you want to plan your spring termination carefully. Roller crimping or flail mowing will be excellent options to lay down the dense mat, creating a thick, weed-suppressing mulch for your subsequent crop. This will be a significant amount of residue, which is generally a good thing, but requires conclusion. Your decision to broadcast 124 pounds of winter rye tonight, especially with the favorable moisture conditions, is a bold and highly regenerative move. You're maximizing the potential for soil health, weed suppression, and carbon building in that block. This is a fantastic example of leveraging ecological first principles to create fully thriving agricultural ecosystem. And then I said today is the 6th of September. We released at least an inch of heavy rain. It might have been more like 2. We got a lot of rain Saturday and some heavy periods. And that just gives us optimal germination, establishment, ample moisture for growth, reduced erosion risk, and enhanced nutrient cycling. So that puts us on keel. Just thought I would share where we're rolling along with the Fieldlark AI, and maybe I'll take another excerpt of this for shorts for people who are interested in corner here, where there was a little bit of cover crop on the edge just to fill the edge in. And I just wanted to catch and show an example of what happens as the buckwheat flowers out, finishes out, goes into senescence, and dies back. And all of a sudden that canopy that was absorbed by all those buckwheat leaves and plants in the way falls back. It turns a yellowish color, so it actually reflects light better. And then all of a sudden we see all this green, beautiful clover coming in the under canopy of it, giving us a nice cover crop. So when I talk about nurse cropping, this is exactly what I mean. The buckwheat gets a root established, helps keep the sun off of soil, directly off the soil, photosynthesizes, builds soil, releases phosphorus, and protects the slower emerging crop underneath, the clover. Gives it a little bit of shade, a chance for a little bit more moisture, and a chance to get going. And then as we either brush hog off or the crop senesces back, the secondary crop comes in. It's a really nice system for getting one crop to help another, and at the same time doing a multi-species cover crop and on down the list of other benefits, all stacked in one synergistic stack. That's what we try to do in regenerative agriculture. Synergistic stacking combinations of positive soil beneficial things stacked together, amplify each other. And then, of course, if something happens and you lose one part of that stack, it's not a critical loss because it's just one component of the stack. The other amplifiers are still going. So, Sunday, September 7th, we got heavy rain Saturday and then showers on and off all night, Saturday night into sometime this morning. So I think we probably got our seed driven in nicely by the rain. We got good moisture, and I would think we probably got pretty good seed to soil contact. And looking here, look at that. Oh, look at that. We already have sprouting winter rye. So there you go. And I'm guessing we're going to have a pretty high germination success rate. So we're going to have a really dense cover crop in here because I went back and crunched the numbers from the planting that I did on Friday. And I went a little heavy on seed. I was trying to make sure I got everything covered. And I put down 124 pounds of winter rye seed on this whole block. The east and west side and over where the clover is. And that works out to about 164 pounds per acre, which is really high. And they recommended 80 to 120 given dense canopy and such. But the upside is that we don't have any cash crop competing over the winter. So the denser the mat, the better. Also, I have to keep in mind in the context here that this area gets grazed very, very, very heavily by the deer. Winter and summer both. So chances are when a lot of this comes up, they're going to be in here grazing again. And so they'll be having an impact on that. So a little bit denser planting will probably work in our benefit. Just looking at the clover cover crops here, and those are starting to really take off nice with the light getting down into the canopy better. And I'm going to try and come back here and put down a foliar feed, a relatively light one, but I want to hit everything in this cover crop block and the new fenced area cover crop block as well, and just give everything a good supportive foliar feed boost just to keep that growth and photosynthesis maxed up and build soil as rapidly and with as much vigor as we can, because this will be our soil energy bank for next year. So I'll just show you some of the puddles here. You can see where the water ran along the road here. More puddles here in our farm roadway, and you can see where the water ran down from the puddles down the lower channel points there. So we got some really nice rain, really good timing on that. I should also mention, when I planted this with the winter rye, I came back, I had a little extra in the bottom of the bucket at the end, and I had wanted to come back and make sure that these side edges of these raised rows got hit with seed. And so I kind of cast into the side of the row to make sure that we had good contact. And again, we have germination of winter rye seed all over the place in here. So that's an excellent confirmation on what we were trying to achieve. Here we are up at the fenced area. So that rain is bringing on another flush of the holy basil flowers. That's excellent timing, going into the middle of September here soon. So we'll have an excellent nectar and pollen crop to help build up colony health and resources for the end of September 8th. Just getting back to the farm now. It's about 6:30. Just thought I'd check in and see how our germination is looking. And we got root tails coming on. see lots of the same here. So that's good. And I was hoping to get a foliar feed on tonight on all of our cover, maybe tomorrow. Days sure are getting shorter fast. Just a quick glance at the cover crop block here since we got the rain. Nice and green and uniform. Always grazing. Well, from up here, all that green and beehives and rolling land sure looks nice. We started out with a whole lot of cedar trees and rough terrain. And we're finally starting to get refined out to farmland again. And it's going to be some beautiful, productive farmland when I'm done getting it set up.